So now we're going to take a look at this display property, and it'll be block, inline, inline, block, and none is what we're going to see. And if you wanted to learn about that at MDN, you just type in MDN display, and specifies the type of rendering box to use for an element. Default display property values are taken from behaviors described in HTML specs or from browser user default style sheet. Right, so different elements have different default display styles. And to illustrate that, we're going to come in here to 3. And we will put out a paragraph, and we'll put some text in it. Okay, and then we'll put a border. Oh, and we'll do a really short paragraph above that. Hello, he said. And then we'll put a border around our paragraph. What's the shorthand notation? 5 pixels, solid red. So the width, the style, and the color. Okay. And now we'll look at these, and we'll do a little. Do you like my hat? I do not like your hat. Goodbye. Goodbye. Anybody recognize the book? Yeah. No. No. Do you like my hat is what's the name of the book? Go Dog Go. The secret message of Go Dog Go. I gotta go look at that. All right, so let's look at this page. And I don't have any borders around here. Why? There are my borders. What is interesting about a paragraph? It takes up an entire line of the page. That's called a block. It takes up a whole block. Okay? It's like a whole block. That's different than like a span element. Multiple selectors. A span element only it takes up as much room as it takes up. And if I added a new span, hello, she said, are you going to the party? It's in line. It just keeps stacking those little ones in line. So span has a display property, which is in line. A paragraph has a display property, which is block. I want you to start thinking about this a little bit like Tetris. You're working with shapes, and how do they arrange on the page? And so different elements have different default display properties. A span's default display property is in line. It just keeps putting things into in line. And a paragraph's default display property is block. It takes up an entire line. So if we were to copy this over and over, eventually that would wrap. See how it wrapped to the next page or the next line? Right? Those inline elements. So there's wrapping that happens by default. So we have block and we have inline. We could change that if we wanted. We could just say display this as block. Now they all are taking on the block property. Those spans are taking on the block property. Each one takes up a whole row. Cool? And we could also say display block, and we could say display none. They're gone. So that's the beginning of display property. And we could do some fun stuff with that. Div times 100, and I want it to have an ID, and I think what I'll do is times 4, and this will be S1, this will be S2. You can't have IDs that start with numbers for whatever reason. And then I'll have some div formatting. Width 200 pixels, height 200 pixels, border 1 pixel solid orange red. I'll do 4 pixels grooved. And then background color red. Oh, what was my mistake? These need to be classes. So I can only have one on a page. I'm going to duplicate this many times. Red, blue, green, yellow, and then make these classes. Keyboard. Let's see keyboard mappings. Map. No result found. Key map reference. That's what I want. Golang key map reference. And I want to be able to multiple selection. Search, replace. Alt J, select all, select next, all occurrences. Control Alt Shift J. Oh, Control Alt Shift J. Well, that all got messed up. What is the command? Alt J. It's not what I want. Oh, that's Windows. On Mac. Select, what is that, Cray? Is that, okay, so anyhow, it's Cray G. So I think that's Alt or Control. Let's try that. Okay, cool. Class. Whoa, that was cool, wasn't it? So now I have this div, styling, which is going to be applied to all divs. And then I have these colors, which will be applied to each class individually. And I can duplicate this. And I'm going to preview this page. Why didn't it work? So those are all display block, right? I gave them a width so they're no longer stretching the whole page. But watch what I could do. I could do div display inline. Watch what happens. So now they're inline, but they're all collapsed. That's not what I want. I could do inline block. Another setting. And now it's kind of cool. We made some blocks on the pages. Maybe I'll make it 150. And then maybe I'll make border radius 25%. So what you're learning about is display, block, inline, inline, block.
Is there a way to make the border radius like different shapes rather than like circle or like?
It's just curving the corners. Yeah, and you could adjust each corner like we did with the lemon. So we're learning about display, and the display property has block, and inline, and none. Those are the settings. Who has questions about this code here? Do you understand all that? Width, height, border, display, border radius? Like, you understand that, right? When you look at each of those, you know what each of those do, right? Yes, Angel? Yes, Richard? Yes, Sausalito? Salvador? Yes, Z? Yes, M? Yes, Deja? All right, so that's display property.